in this video, I wanted to look at understanding of universal consciousness and the system. I think oftentimes we can come from this vantage point that there's something wrong with our journey here to Earth, or that the world needs to be saved, or there is something broken in terms of the fabric or design of the universe, the eternal battle of good versus evil. And certainly there are elements of learning in all things, and we don't want to propagate suffering or negativity at any point. But part of this learning and part of the understanding of advanced and intermediate souls, as well as those who have integrated a vast amount of wisdom over multiple lifetimes, is this understanding that consciousness in the scope of the eternal model it's not a linear experience. We don't just go from being an unawakened soul to an expanded version of our soul's capability, and then there's this eventual end point. Because of the fact that eternity is eternal, there is expansion and contraction and new aspects of creation being born in the infinite now, always. And so, although this is difficult for the mechanism of the human brain, because of course we are under the constructs of duality and linear time, it is difficult for us to integrate this in an intellectual, conceptual way. The best way that I can explain it is to just be at peace with knowing that everything is always working out for you, and everything is always according to divine design, and resting in that knowledge, okay? Having it be the infrastructure of all of your experiences. And this is true inner peace. This is that anchor point to simply understand that always, in all things, all is well, even if it doesn't seem that way on the external plane. Now, this doesn't mean that we allow for abuses and suffering and things like that. It simply means that we understand that we cannot, through this small sliver of consciousness that we are propagating in this lifetime, we cannot understand everything in all places at all times, okay? We are not yet in infinite consciousness, or we're not in an infinite conscious state as of yet, okay? So as an introduction into this lesson, we look at the grand design of consciousness. The universe operates as an interconnected system of consciousness where all souls exist on a vast spectrum of awareness, meaning there's some, souls in their infancy that are very unaware, and so therefore they operate and act, and their actions align with this level of unawareness. Souls range from younger, less aware consciousness to older, highly awakened beings that serve as guides and inspiration for all consciousness. Every experience, even those we perceive as negative, serve a purpose in the grand unfolding of consciousness. So even the things that seem very distorted offer a catalyst, offer us contrast in terms of our own depth of learning and understanding. So a layman way of saying this is that we learn what we don't like, or what does not serve us, or what hurts us, by experiencing that very thing. So when we experience pain, we experience negativity, that's how we learn and integrate into our souls, to the fabric of our soul, that this is something we don't wish to experience, by experiencing that very thing. And oftentimes, and this is part of the karmic system, when we do harm to others, we have to experience the harm that we create experientially in this three-dimensional space, because that's how we integrate the lesson that it's not something that we want to elicit again or create again. Because when we are the source of suffering for others, again, that's damaging, that's distorting. But we have to learn that lesson, and the only way that we learn that lesson is by essentially taking the step in that direction, doing that thing, causing that suffering. Because there is no other way to know but to truly know. I mean, we can be told, okay, don't do this, but just like a child, until they actually don't do this, but just like a child, until they actually scrape their knee, bump their head, they don't really believe the wisdom of the parent until they've experienced it and integrated it into the very aspect of their being. Okay, now the spectrum of consciousness is vast as the rainbow. Okay, there are so many aspects of consciousness, but for to make it easy, we can definitely separate those that are new, younger souls, into this basket of what we would call lower consciousness or low vibrational frequency. And these are souls that operate in this rooted state of fear, anger, violence, and suffering. Okay, very reactionary, not a lot of contemplation going on there. Now, I'm not going to say that there aren't aspects of higher vibrational beings that will choose to forget, that will choose to incarnate in this state of absolute spiritual amnesia for the experience, for the possible catalyst of a new frontier of consciousness. So I don't want you to think that the system is completely linear. It's not. It's multi-dimensional, very, very well designed, but in a way that is hard for the human consciousness to understand at this point in our evolution. Okay, there are also, in terms of this lower consciousness, their awareness is limited. They may not understand this idea or the concept of unity. They might be, or they often are, a lot more focused on the self, a lot more concentrated on the ego, on what they can get. So lessons of unity, compassion, and the deeper truths about existence evade them. But they're not even asking those questions. So it's not that there's an element of brokenness. It's just like an element of a childlike, unaware state. Okay. Now, they experience life primarily through reaction and survival rather than reflection and wisdom. Now, in contrast, higher consciousness, older souls and guides have lived many lifetimes and have integrated in all of the culmination of experiences that they have had. And this is directly related to their vibrational state. So they're vibrating at a higher vibrational state, embodying aspects like compassion, love, patience, understanding, mercy, non-judgment, unconditional love. Okay, all of those are very high vibrational states, leaving even their actual physical vehicle very, very light, because there is not a lot of density in the thought forms that they align with or carry around, their modus operandi. Okay, now their role is not to fix younger souls. They do not see this unawakened state as something that is wrong or bad or something that they need to fix, because of course learning must be learned. It's not something that we can jump in and force another soul to become awakened or to become wise. The process of whittling out the consciousness or sculpting and molding the consciousness takes however long it takes. We live in a system of the eternal now, eternity. That means forever, endless. So there's no time limit on this, okay? But the role of these higher conscious beings is to guide, inspire, and hold space for the evolution of the younger factions or aspects of consciousness as they are coalescing into their own divine blueprint, what it is that is unique about that aspect of creation, their soul. Okay, and this is why it's so important to understand that the system is not broken. Okay, there's nothing in the universal system that's broken. There's not this war in, out there between good and evil. It's all a unified system. It's all working the way that it is supposed to work. The universe is not flawed. It is a learning experience and expansion for all souls. Every being is on a journey of integration, learning through contrast, challenges, and experiences. Okay, and suffering and negativity are not permanent states, but phases of the conscious experience that can be transcended, that are supposed to be transcended when that soul is ready to take that ascension rung in terms of the ladder. The vast diversity of experience allows all consciousness to expand and evolve collectively. The vast diversity of experience allows all consciousness to expand and evolve collectively. Now let's talk a little bit about the role of negativity and suffering. Negative experiences serve as catalysts for growth, pushing souls towards awareness and transformation. The contrast between suffering and peace help souls understand and appreciate higher states of being. Okay, those in darkness are not wrong or evil. They are simply experiencing a lack of awareness and integration. So this is where the older, more mature, wise aspects of consciousness can exist in unconditional love and can exist in non-judgment because they understand the process, okay? And they are guiding through inspiration, not force. You cannot force the awakening, okay? Every soul must come to this understanding in their own time, knowing truly that time is a faction of earth. It doesn't truly exist in the eternal now. But if we're looking at time, time is infinite. So we can do, the process unfolds as the flower, as it needs to, as it should, okay? The most effective way to assist is through inspiration, kindness, and the embodiment of this higher consciousness. This is how we inspire others, through being that light, through being that lighthouse, okay? So when you evaluate your own vibration, you become that lighthouse. And when you elevate that vibration, you're naturally illuminating that path for all others through your example, through that integration and that outward expression of unconditional love, patience, and these become the most powerful forces of transformation, okay? And this is the journey of integration of the lessons. The soul's path is an eternal unfolding, learning, forgetting, remembering, evolving, loving, and creating. Every soul, no matter how lost, is on a trajectory back to unity and the divine awareness. And the higher purpose of existence is the expansion of consciousness through each and every experience contributing to our growth. So Abraham Hicks puts it so eloquently in terms of all of us here on planet Earth being on the forefront of creation, the forefront of new, diverse thought forms, really bridging together this element of complete free will. The training wheels are off and we can go in whatever direction we choose, and we never know really what's going to crop up. And that's a beautiful, fun adventure that we are having through this dynamic aspect of our existence. Now, in conclusion, I really want to drive home the fact that the most beautiful state that you can be in is trust and faith, trusting the process. The universe is not some chaotic vortex that should elicit fear within you. It is an intricately designed experience of learning, growth, expansion, and an extremely powerful adventure, okay? Even those who are deeply unconscious in our midst are in the process of learning and will one day awaken, and we just have to love them at the point that they are and accept that they are on their own unique journey. By focusing on your own growth, you contribute to the collective ascension of consciousness, and trusting this journey, trusting the wisdom of the universe, and trust in the awakening of all souls in their time. Now, this doesn't mean that we sit back and we allow abuse or injustice, quite the opposite. when we are in a state of advancement, when we are in a state of a highly loving energy, we still stand up and fight for what we know to be right from the depths of our souls. We still have action. This is not that state of non-doership. Part of the journey is to go on that journey of that highest path, being that warrior for all things right and good and just. And I don't mean warrior in a way of violence. I mean, there are so many examples like Muhammad Gandhi who show us that just through utilizing our voice and our inspiration, we can move mountains, we can change systems. So we still want to be in action of the highest emanation of our purpose in being, but also residing in this aspect of trust in the universal design.